I started trying to write children's picture books in 2008, and after my first daughter was born, and I naively thought it was going to take me a couple of years. I thought, you know what, by the time she's 3 years old, I'll have at least one book out. And it takes a long time. It's a very competitive industry. You really have to practice a lot. From the time I started writing, it took me 9 years to get my first book published. And my first book that I had come out was a book that was inspired by my oldest daughter, A Car Ride Home, where she fell asleep in the car almost, and we were 5 minutes from home. And to keep her awake, I had to start talking to her. And I looked at her, and suddenly this idea popped into my head. And I looked at her, I said, when I say I love you, say you. And she said you. And I thought maybe there's a story there. And that became this book right here called Love You Too. And shortly after that, because I had gotten a book deal with one publisher, other publishers look at that like, oh, someone else took a chance on him. Maybe we should give him a little stronger consideration, sort of thing. So my next two books that I got published were with Houghton Mifflin, which was for No Tooting at Tea, which was inspired by actual events in my house. And then my third book was called The Great Puppy Invasion. These both came out in 2017. And then my fourth book was a book called Hello Door that was illustrated by Elisa Coburn, who illustrated my first book and my fourth book. And then after that, I had a book come out called Quiet Down Loudtown. And then in July of 2019, I got a magical phone call from my agent where she said I had an opportunity to write some new Cat in the Hat books for Dr. Seuss. There were a bunch of other writers trying out for it. So after a few weeks of trying and really loving it, it was really amazing to be able to just stare at the blank page, think about what would Dr. Seuss write, and it just came pouring out of me. I can't explain where it came from. It just kind of, I got a weirdly wired brain, and I'm very thankful it works that way because my brain works the way it does is the same reason I can't do what you can do, and I can't do what my mom can do, and I can't do what you can do. For some reason, I can do this, and I'm very thankful that I've had the chance to do that. So my first three books with Dr. Seuss and Random House were If I Had Your Vote by the Cat in the Hat, and then it was If I Ran Your School by the Cat in the Hat, and then in the Christmas of 22, If I Were Saint Nick by the Cat in the Hat. And probably my biggest dream come true to date, and I don't know if it'll get bigger than this, but I had the opportunity to try out to write the official sequel to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I found out about it in June of 2021. Found out they chose me to write the story in July of 2021. Had to keep that secret until February of 2023. Only told a handful of people. My wife knew, of course. My parents knew, but sworn to secrecy. And then this came out, it's How the Grinch Lost Christmas. It came out in September of 2023, and it's been a dream come true, and it's been great. A lot of people have probably had an idea in their own mind of what happens next to the Grinch, right? And when the story came through, I felt I got the kind of a bulleted list of what was needed to happen in the story. They didn't have any of the writing done. There wasn't a title for the book yet. It's kind of main plot points. When I got that and I started writing it, I couldn't stop writing it. However, I felt a deep sense of responsibility to the first book, to Dr. Seuss, because I kept in the back of my mind saying, would he approve? Would he approve? Would he approve? And so I pushed myself. I agonize about meter. Every syllable matters to me. So it was a lot of pressure, but in a really good way. I was doing something that I love and putting a lot of pressure on myself. I tend to be more pressure prompted. I work a little better under pressure. It doesn't mean I love living there all the time, but for some reason my brain kicks into a different gear when I'm under pressure. And with this one, there was a lot of pressure I put on myself. I think there was a lot of pressure out in the world, like, what is this story going to be? I wanted to do service to the writing and the story that Dr. Seuss first wrote, to make sure it sounded like something that would have come from him in the rhyme, the meter, the storytelling, the whimsy, the creativity. So I tried to really push myself, and I didn't do it alone. I had editors at Random House who were giving me feedback along the way. But it was an incredible opportunity, a lot of pressure, but a lot of that was self-inflicted too. There's a quote that I love that's attributed to an artist, and it goes, "The creative adult is the child who survived." I sort of feel like creative adults they're people who fought for their creativity. You don't get any more creative than when you're a kid. There's a lyric in a song, a Killer song that says, "You have the faith of a child before the world gets in." And I think the more that kids can stay creative, not succumb to peer pressure or teasing or bullying, which is tough, for something they love to do. If they love to dance, if they love to sing, and somebody tells them their dances are terrible or their singing is not good, that does something to your self-esteem. For me as a kid, it was hard when that stuff happened, but I was talking to my uncle about this last night. It put a bit of a chip on my shoulder to be like, but I love this. I'm gonna keep doing this because I think I can do this for a living, this kind of thing. So my presentation today is about ideas, but what it's really about is instilling in kids that you guys have the best creative ideas on the planet. I want you to keep this creativity as you get older, because the reason that this table is blue and the reason that this shelf exists and the reason this pattern in this shirt is here is because a creative person built it, made it happen. Everything in the world is based on some kind of creativity. I want kids to, through the lens of ideas, know that everybody's creative. And please stay creative as you get older, because as we get older and we're not getting any younger, there's going to come a time when we're going to write our last story, or we're going to draw our last picture, or we're going to cook our last food for someone, or paint our, when we are done, the world is going to need the kids of today's creativity to continue to make the world a better place. And the next Dr. Seuss is out there. You know what I mean? It's a kid today that's going to grow up to become an amazing author illustrator. My job, I feel like, with kids is just to help instill that sense of, please keep your creativity no matter what anybody says. It's so important.